The last stand. The space around them was on fire with the light of ships that were dying. Commander Velenar of the Caltherian Republic saw his fleet getting destroyed on the screen in front of him. Each little dot on the screen meant that hundreds of people were dead. He held onto the control panel with his forearms tightly. The special lights on his skin were flashing because he was so upset. The people around him on the Celestial Dawn warship were working fast trying to do something. They were all talking at the time, but they were trying to stay calm. Commander Velenar and the crew of the Dawn were in a lot of trouble. The Caltherian Republic fleet was being destroyed. The enemy had Velenar and his people surrounded. Velenar had been in a lot of battles during his 40 cycles of service. The Zarthak Collective was something else. They were like a dream that came to life. The Zarthak Collective had a swarm of warships that seemed to get bigger and stronger with each win. What was really scary was that the Zarthak Collective did not build their ships like species did, with metal and energy. Instead, the Zarthak Collective grew their ships. These ships were huge living creatures made of a hard outer layer and flesh that glowed in the dark. The Zarthak Collective ships pulsed with an angry energy. Each Zarthak Collective ship was connected to the others, which made them work together perfectly and show no mercy to their enemies. The Zarthak Collective was a force to be reckoned with. Velenar knew that they had to be stopped. The numbers were really bad. Velenar's fleet, which was made up of ships from 12 species, started with 4,000 ships. After 6 long and brutal hours of fighting, they only had 800 ships left. The Zarthak had a lot ships. Over 20,000 and more were coming all the time through their special jump gates. The coalition fleet was all that stood between the Zarthak and the Thyra system, where 18 billion people lived on 3 planets. They had just started to evacuate people from the Thyra system. Far they had only been able to save 3 million people. If the fleet could not hold up, the rest of the people in the Thyra system would die. The Zarthak forces were still. The coalition fleet was in big trouble. Strategic Officer Kira then walked up to us. The red emergency lights hit her body. Made a lot of tiny rainbows. This is because her body is like a crystal. The Luminar, which is what Strategic Officer Kira then is, talk to each other in a way. They use sounds that read like music. When Strategic Officer Kira then spoke, her voice sounded like glass shattering. She said the enemy will get past our side in 8 minutes. We have lost a lot of ships. Because of this, we cannot keep our defenses strong around us. The Luminar, Strategic Officer Kira then was very clear about this. Velenar knew she was right. He could see the holes in their plan. The Zarthak were moving forward like a wave, their bioplasma weapons breaking through shields really easily. Every type of alien in the group had worked on their technology for a long time, making their defenses and weapons better. None of that helped against the Zarthak. The Zarthak were changing and getting stronger all the time. They just kept going and taking over. The Zarthak had already taken over 42 star systems in 2 years. The Zarthak were a problem. Some people think that if the aliens are not stopped soon, the entire galaxy will belong to the aliens within 10 years. The aliens will have the galaxy if they are not stopped soon. The entire galaxy will be controlled by the aliens within a decade if something is not done to stop the aliens. Helm Officer Daxel, a big reptilian warrior from the Sorok species, turned his head that had a lot of scars toward Velenar. Commander, the Thyra government is asking for time. They say that the people who are being evacuated need at least 12 more hours to get out safely. The Thyra government wants to make sure everyone is safe. The evacuation of the people is what the Thyra government is worried about. Velenar felt his heart sink. The thing that Velenar could not give the coalition captains was time. Velenar opened a channel to the coalition captains. The faces of the coalition captains appeared on Velenar's screen. These were aliens who were united by desperation. There were the Velkari who looked like insects, the Merlosh who lived in water, the Photons who were made of energy, and some others. Each of the coalition captains showed that they were very tired. Each of the coalition captains knew that they were going to die. The Photons and the Velkari and the Merlosh all knew that time was running out for the coalition captains. All ships, this is Commander Velenar. We always knew that this day could come. We made a promise to keep the people safe no matter what kind of beings they are. Today we are going to keep that promise. We will stay here. Fight until the last ship is gone. We are doing this for the Thyra. We are doing this for the coalition. We are doing this for every life that is behind us and deserves to live to see another day. The answers came fast, people speaking in many different languages, but they all said the same thing. The people would stand up for what they believed in. The people would fight for what was important to them. The people would even die if that is what it took. The people would not run away from their problems. Velenar turned to his communication officer, a Caltherian named SIVRA. SIVRA still had the colors of youth in her patterns. Velenair told SIVRA to send the distress call, on all frequencies. She had to send it in all languages. The message had to include the coordinates of the Velnar ship and their tactical situation. SIVRA's patterns went to a blue color, which is the color of mourning. Sir, the coalition reinforcements that are closest to us will not be here for 3 weeks even if they travel at their speed. I know that. Send the information anyway. This is the protocol we have to follow. The message went out a cry into the dark. Velenair did not think anyone would hear it. It was not possible for anyone to get to them in time to help. The message was something to leave behind so people, in the future, would know that Velenair had fought and what they were fighting for. 30 seconds went by. The Zarthak vessels got really close. Their weird living hulls were like throbbing with excitement. Velenair could almost feel how much the Zarthak vessels wanted to attack. The Zarthak vessels did not just destroy groups of people, the Zarthak vessels actually ate them, taking apart everything that is alive to give the Zarthak vessels the power to keep growing and growing. Then SIVRA's patterns flashed white, which is the color of shock. Commander, we have a response from SIVRA. Velnar's head turned fast. What was that? A fleet is on its way to us. The Terran Expeditionary Force is who they say they are. We can expect the Terran Expeditionary Force to get here in 9 minutes. The bridge was really quiet. Then Kira then started singing and her beautiful voice filled the space. What is Terran? I need to look up what that means. Away. Check the information on Terran immediately. Ivere worked fast, his patterns changing through all sorts of colors as he looked through the Galactic database. He finally found what he was looking for. Terra, which is also known as Earth. It is listed as a world that is protected by the Galactic Council. The Galactic Council says that Earth is a world that does not have faster than travel yet. They checked on Earth 132 years ago. At that time, the people of Earth had radio technology. They did not have any way to travel faster than light. SIVRA kept looking at the information about Terra, also known as Earth, and he saw that they were still away from being able to travel through space quickly. The Galactic Council had put Earth on a list of protected worlds, which means that other worlds are not supposed to bother them. SIVRA was still looking at the information about Terra, also known as Earth. He was trying to learn more about this quarantined world. That is impossible, Daxel said in a tone. A species that does not have travel like us cannot get to us in 9 minutes. We are 12 years away from the system of that species, the species that Daxel was talking about, the species that is trying to reach us, Daxel thought. Velenair looked at the display and his mind was all over the place. He wondered if this was some kind of trick. Maybe the Zarthak were trying to fool him. Then he thought about it some more. The Zarthak do not use tricks like that. They just do what they always do. The Zarthak overwhelmed their enemies. Then they consumed them. Velenair thought about the Zarthak. How they fight. The Zarthak are not sneaky or tricky. They just use force to get what they want. Sir, what do you want me to do? Kira then asked. He was waiting to hear what the man had to say. The man was in charge. Kira then needed to know what Kira then was supposed to do next. What are your orders? Kira then said, again looking at the man for some kind of answer. Velenair made his decision. We will keep on fighting. If the Terrans really do show up, then maybe this is the break we need. If they do not, we will die knowing we gave the Terrans and Velenair every moment we could to try and win. The Zarthak attack got really bad. The Zarthak bioships moved fast, sending out lots of acid projectiles and plasma bursts. The coalition shields lit up, then stopped working. More of the coalition ships were destroyed, their hulls breaking open and letting out air and people into space. Velenair saw a Merlash cruiser blow up in a cloud of frozen water and broken metal. 300 people died away. The Zarthak attack was very deadly. The countdown was still going on. There were 7 minutes left. Then it was 6 minutes. Then 5 minutes. Ships were falling around them. This was happening to both the coalition and the Zarthak. The Zarthak had a lot more ships to lose. Velnar's own ship was hit hard. A big burst of plasma energy hit it on. This made the shield on the side of the ship stop working. We have lost 30% of the remaining vessels. SIVRA reported his patterns are now a blue-gray color of acceptance. We have 4 minutes until the Terran vessels arrive. If the Terran vessels are actually coming. The space in front of the coalition fleet suddenly got all messed up. It was not the kind of distortion that happens when you see drives or the big flash of light that comes from jump gates. The coalition fleet saw that reality itself was bending and folding in a way, making circular openings that should not be there according to what we know about how things work. The coalition fleet saw ships coming through these openings that should not exist. These ships were coming through the doorways that just appeared in front of the coalition fleet. 173 vessels came out. They were all lined up in a perfect pattern. The portals closed up behind them. It made a really low sound that the sensors picked up. This sound was so low that Velnar could feel it in his bones. He looked at the ships that came in and he was really confused. The ships from Earth looked totally different from the ships of the Coalition. Most other species like to make their ships with curves or fancy crystal shapes, but these ships were sharp and looked mean. They were painted in colors like black and gray, and they did not have a lot of lights on the outside. Every part of these ships seemed to be made for a reason. They were covered in what looked like metal plates and guns. The human ships looked like they were made for fighting and nothing else. But they were so few. 173 ships against 20,000 Zarthak vessels. It was suicide. A message came in. The face that showed up on Velnar's screen was not from here. This person had really smooth skin that was like the color of dirt, dark hair, and eyes that were really intense. Velnar did not see eyes like that often. The alien was wearing a blue suit with symbols on it that the Coalition database did not know what they meant. I am Admiral Sarah Okonkwo of the Terran Defense Fleet. I am in charge of the TDF Resilience. The Terran Defense Fleet is here to help. Coalition forces, please move back to the place marked Delta 79er. The Terran Defense Fleet will take care of things from on. Velnar found his voice. Admiral, the enemy has, then 20,000 ships. The fleet you have is just not big enough. The Velnar fleet is really small compared to the enemy fleet. The person's face did not change. Commander, I am speaking to you with respect. We did not travel 12 years to talk about what we should do. Tell your people to move. The crew and I have got the situation under control with the mission. We have this mission under control with the crew. The transmission ended. I looked at the display and what I saw was amazing. The human fleet broke up into groups and moved across the battlefield with perfect timing. They were moving fast that I had to check my sensors again to make sure I was seeing it right. They were accelerating at 12 gravities. I do not know of any species that can survive that kind of speed without getting hurt badly. The humans were really pushing themselves to the limit. The human fleet was moving at a speed that made me wonder how they were still alive. The Zarthak found some new people to go after, so they started paying attention to the humans. A lot of the Zarthak bioships changed direction, getting ready to surround and overpower these people. The Zarthak had done this times before with other people, and now they were doing it with the humans. The human fleet started shooting. Velnar's idea of what war is like completely fell apart. The human fleet really knew how to fight. Velnar was not ready for this kind of war. The human fleet was very strong. Velnar did not know what to do. The first weapons that were used were metal things that were shot out from special guns on the ships. These guns were on the back of each ship. These metal things were not like the ones we normally use. The sensors on Velnar's ship could see that they were going really fast, almost 30% of the speed of light. This is very hard to do. Would need a lot of power, much more than the human ships have. The metal things went across the space between the ships quickly in just a few heartbeats, and they hit the Zarthak vessels with a lot of force. It was like the end of the world. The Zarthak vessels were hit by the metal things from the railguns with much force that it was very bad for them. The shields were basically useless. The kinetic energy just went through the organic armor like it was a really thin layer. The ships just blew up from the inside out. Their biomatter got frozen fast. Then it was scattered everywhere by the energy that was transferred. In the first 3 seconds, 40 of the Zarthak vessels were completely gone. The Zarthak vessels were destroyed quickly. The Zarthak vessels did not stand a chance. The second wave of weapons was launched away. These weapons were called missiles by the humans. They were really smart and could move on their own. They went through space, avoided getting hit by enemy fire with no problem. When they got to where they were going, they did not blow up like bombs. Each missile made a beam of hot energy like a tiny star that burned for a very short time. This beam could cut through anything that got in its way. Velnar was amazed as he watched the beams destroy the parts of the enemy ships like the command centers and the systems that made them move with complete accuracy. The beams were so precise that they could take out the enemy weapons without hurting anything. Velnar thought this was really cool. The Zarthak swarm tried to respond. They had a lot of ships, 20,000 of them, and all of these Zarthak ships focused their fire on the fleet. The Zarthak ships were launching waves and waves of bioplasma and acid projectiles. This made the space around them really dangerous. The void was filled with energy and it was all heading toward the Terrans. The human ships were completely safe. The defense systems on the ships started working, making a safe zone around each human ship. The laser beams moved fast and destroyed the incoming projectiles with great precision. The smaller guns on the ships fired all the time, making a wall of metal that nothing could get through. The humans had thought about every attack and put their human ships in the right place to defend them. The human ships were really well protected. 45 seconds into the fight, the human fleet had already taken out 3,000 Zarthak vessels. That is a lot of Zarthak vessels. At 90 seconds the number of destroyed Zarthak vessels was up to 7,000 Zarthak vessels. The human fleet was still going strong with no damage to the fleet, no casualties on the human fleet, and no signs of the human fleet slowing down. The Zarthak hive mind did something it had never done before. It decided to retreat. The Zarthak hive mind had never retreated in all of recorded history. The remaining Zarthak vessels all turned around. Ran away. They opened up their organic jump gates and tried really hard to get away from whatever was happening. The human fleet was just sitting there, its ships surrounded by the glowing pieces of the enemy ships that they had destroyed. This whole fight was really short. It was over in 2 minutes and 17 seconds. The human fleet had done a job. The human fleet was very strong. On the Bridge of the Dawn there was complete silence. Nobody said a word. The crew just looked at their sensors trying to make sense of what they saw. The Zarthak Collective, which was thought to be unbeatable, had just run away from a much smaller fleet. The Zarthak Collective, this scary force that had taken over 42 star systems, was fleeing from a fleet that was only a tiny fraction of their size. The Zarthak Collective. Velenaar's communication console chimed. Admiral Okonkwo's face reappeared, looking exactly as calm as before. Coalition Command, threat neutralized. We'd like to discuss an alliance. We have much to talk about. Humanity just announced itself to the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same. The new order. The command center on the Unity's Hope was really crowded. Commander Velenaar was standing with the leaders of 12 species. They were all still trying to understand what they saw 3 hours ago. The big round room was made for meetings between groups, but now it felt like a room where people plan for war when they are not sure what will happen next. There were pictures showing what was left after the fight, a lot of debris where the Zarthak ships used to be and human ships staying close to the Thyra system to keep it safe. The Unity's Hope Command Center was filled with the leaders of the Zarthak Coalition. They were all looking at the holographic displays showing the Zarthak vessels and the human ships in the Thyra system. Commander Velenaar and the leaders of the 12 species were trying to figure out what to do about the Zarthak and the human ships. Velenaar's bioluminescent patterns changed back and forth between blue and green as he looked at the 3 humans who had just walked into the room. These humans walked into the room with a lot of confidence. It was not like they thought they were better than everyone, but they really believed in what they could do. The leaders of the galaxy had come together to meet the people who might be able to save them. The truth is, these saviors might be more dangerous than the bad people they had just beaten. Velenaar was still thinking about the humans. What they might do. The galaxy's leaders were taking a risk by meeting with these humans because the humans might be more trouble than they are worth. Velenaar's bioluminescent patterns kept changing as he thought about the humans and the danger they might pose to the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo was in charge of the group. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo was not very tall. She was really short compared to the people in the room, like the Sorok representatives who were very tall. When Admiral Sarah Okonkwo walked in, everyone noticed her. Captain James Rodriguez walked with Admiral Sarah Okonkwo. Captain James Rodriguez had a face that looked like it had been outside a lot, and his eyes were very sharp. He seemed to see everything. The other person with them was Dr. Amara Osei. Dr. Amara Osei was a scientist. Velenaar did not know what Dr. Amara Osei did exactly. Velenaar thought Dr. Amara Osei was very important to the group. The head of the Unity Council, Supreme Coordinator Threshenael of the Photon Collective, was floating in the middle of the room. The colors of his energy form were changing, showing that he was really worried but very thankful. When he spoke, his voice was like music. The translation devices turned it into words that everyone could understand. Supreme Coordinator Threshenael of the Photon Collective said to Admiral Okonkwo, who was representing the Unity Council, that Supreme Coordinator Threshenael of the Photon Collective wanted to say thank you much for what you did. You saved the lives of 18 billion people today. Supreme Coordinator Threshenael of the Photon Collective and the Unity Council need to figure out what just happened. Your species was considered to be not advanced enough to travel than light. Then you showed up using technology that we do not know about, and you had military abilities that are beyond what we can understand. You used technology that we have never seen before. It was very surprising to us. Your species has capabilities that exceed what we thought was possible. Okonkwo pointed to the holographic display that appeared in front of them. I know you are confused, Supreme Coordinator. The thing is, humanity has not been without travel for 132 years. When we got your message, we had to make a decision. We decided to watch and see what you would do of saying hello to the Supreme Coordinator and the rest of the people, with the Supreme Coordinator. We chose to observe humanity and the Supreme Coordinator rather than introduce ourselves to the Supreme Coordinator. Velenaar felt his patterns flash orange with surprise. The Velenaar was really surprised. You have been watching the Velenaar and his people for over 100 years. You did not make any contact with the Velenaar during all this time. Captain Rodriguez spoke up for the time and his voice sounded really rough. We had our reasons, Commander. Captain Rodriguez wanted Dr. Osei to tell our story, so he said to Dr. Osei if he would explain the history of Captain Rodriguez and the team. The scientist turned on her data pad and the pictures on the display started to change. Now you could see a world that was blue and green. It was really pretty and full of life. This is Earth, our home planet. If you want to know why Earth people made decisions, you need to know what Earth people are like. The pictures changed, showing bad things happening. Cities were destroyed, big clouds of smoke were going up into the air, and huge groups of soldiers were fighting over the world. Velenaar looked at all this, felt more and more scared as he realized how bad things were. These pictures were not of aliens coming to Earth or of storms. These were pictures of humans fighting against humans. Velenaar saw humans fighting humans. It was a terrible thing. For long as people have been writing things down, Dr. Osei said, people have been fighting with each other. We split into groups based on where we live, what we believe in, what church we go to, and what things we have. We used everything we could find to fight, from rocks and sticks to bombs that can make whole areas unlivable. Our last big war, which we call World War III, was really bad. 1.2 billion people died over 7 years. Dr. Osei talked about how World War III was a sad time for humanity. Humanity has been hurt badly by World War III. The room was completely silent, with people too shocked to say a word. Kira then's crystalline form was not shining all, which is a big deal for the Luminar. It means they are really upset. You killed then 1 billion of your own people? That is a number. You did this all in one war? The Luminar were staring at you, clearly upset by what you did to your species. The fact that you killed over 1 billion of your own species is very disturbing. Okonkwo's face stayed calm. He looked really sad. Yes. When that war was finally over, we saw what we had done to the Igbo people, and we all decided together. We said to ourselves that Okonkwo and the Igbo people would never again be so weak. The Igbo people would never again be unready for dangers, whether they came from inside the Igbo community or from outside the world. The Supreme Coordinator was flashing a purple color, which means it is really confused. You figured out how to travel then light, which is a big deal. This means you could have become a part of the community. So why did you decide to hide from the rest of the galaxy? The Supreme Coordinator is still wondering why you chose to hide. We did not know if the galaxy was a place, Rodriguez said in a straightforward way. We had almost destroyed ourselves. Then we found your travel signal, we heard your talking, and we figured out that we were not the only ones in the universe. We had to think about something that was really tough. What if we tell everyone we are here? We find a galaxy that is full of species that want to hurt us? What if the galaxy is not a place for us? We are not ready for that? We were thinking about the galaxy. What it would be like if we met other species in the galaxy. Velenaar said this quietly. You got ready for war. For then 100 years you made a lot of weapons and ships. You did this because you thought things would get really bad. Velenaar was talking about how you prepared for war. We did not take anything for granted, Okonkwo said. We thought about what could happen. We worked on our technology without telling anyone. We made systems to protect ourselves. We built the Terran Defense Fleet. And yes, we made our ships and weapons for one reason, to make sure that the Terran Defense Fleet and humanity would never be helpless again, so humanity would be safe. Dr. Osei changed the display again, showing schematics that made Velenaar's mind spin. The way we fight is really different from the way you fight. Warfare is really different. You make shields to take the hit. You make ships that can last a time in battle. The tactics you use are all about defense, because the people in your cultures think it is really important to preserve things and make them last. Your cultures value preservation and endurance of warfare. She pointed out a warship. The way it was shaped made sense in a way. We make our ships to stop things from happening to us. Our ships do not have protection like yours, because that protection needs a lot of power to work, and it can still not work. So we use that power for guns, metal, going fast, and protecting ourselves from attacks. We do not try to be okay when the enemy shoots at us. We make sure the enemy cannot shoot at us all. The human warship is made to fight this way. We build warships to stop the enemy from shooting. Kira then said the kinetic weapons are really interesting. She was curious about how they work, and that was stronger than her fear. The kinetic weapons move fast. They should need a lot of energy to work. It seems like it would be impossible to make the kinetic weapons go fast. The kinetic weapons are just not something you see every day. That is what makes them so interesting to Kira then. Our reactor technology is a lot better than yours, Dr. Osei said. We made fusion systems that work well at 97% efficiency. We also figured out how to get energy from zero-point energy, which gives us unlimited power for short bursts. The railguns get their power from banks that store energy, and these banks get charged up using zero-point energy taps. Our zero-point energy is what makes this all possible. Our fusion. Our zero-point energy worked together to make our reactor technology very powerful. So what about your travel? Threshinale asked. We have never seen travel technology like that before. Dimensional travel is really something to us. Our slipspace drive is really something, Rodriguez said. We do not actually bend space. Jump into hyperspace like others do. Our slipspace drive works by folding the barriers between dimensions. Then we simply step through. This method of travel is a lot faster and more accurate than what other people use. However, it needs an amount of energy to work and the calculations have to be exact. The people who made our slipspace drive have been working on it for 100 years to get it right. Our slipspace drive is still the way to travel according to Rodriguez. Velenair stepped forward. His patterns changed to a determined red. Admiral, you told us what you can do. Now tell us what you want to do. You have the power to take over the coalition. Your fleet of 173 ships beat 7,000 Zarthak vessels without getting hurt. How ships does Earth really have? Velenair wants to know about the Earth ships. What is the real number of Earth ships? Okonkwo met his gaze without flinching. We have 52 battle fleets right now. Each battle fleet has a lot of vessels. Between 150 and 300 vessels. The number of vessels in each battle fleet depends on what the battle fleet's supposed to do. We also have a lot of installations around our home system. Our home system has a lot of protection. We have 3 space fortress stations too. The numbers really got to Velnar's hearts. They were beating fast. The humans had a fleet of warships. There were then 10,000 of them. Each of these warships was as powerful as what Velenair had seen. The humans could take over the galaxy in no time. It would be like a wave that nothing could stop. Velenair thought that the humans and their warships were unbeatable. The warships of the humans would just sweep across the galaxy. Nothing would be able to stand in their way. Velenair was worried about the power of the humans and their warships. I can see the fear in this room, Okonkwo. Her voice became softer. I get it. We have shown that we have a lot of weapons and we have been watching all of you without you knowing. Now you are thinking if the people who are armed like us are dangerous and if we just found some new people to hurt the armed people, us are we going to hurt you? She walked to the middle of the room, which made her an easy target for the creatures around her. Now let us talk about humanity. Humanity has a lot of things in its past. Humanity has killed each other in huge numbers, which is very sad. Humanity also got something good from all the fighting. Humanity learned that working together is better than fighting. Humanity learned that it is very important to keep people who cannot defend themselves safe. Humanity learned that having power is a responsibility and you have to use it wisely. Dr. Osei said, when we were finally able to listen to what the people of Earth were saying and we learned how to understand the languages of Earth, we found something that made us feel hopeful. A lot of the species in this galaxy are not mean. The people of Earth trade with each other. The people of Earth work together. The people of Earth have made a community where everyone helps each other if trying to hurt each other. The people of Earth are not like us. The people of Earth are better than us in a lot of ways. But you are also vulnerable, Rodriguez continued. When we found out about the Zarthak broadcasts and we saw the things they did, we knew we had to decide what to do. We could stay hidden, be safe, or we could show ourselves and help the Zarthak people. We had to think about the Zarthak, what they were going through because of the Zarthak broadcast. Admiral Okonkwo turned around to face Threshinale. On Earth, people talked about what to do for 3 weeks. Some people thought Earth should stay away from everything. Some people thought Earth should just talk to others a bit. I thought Earth should send the military to help. I did not want to show off Earth's equipment. I wanted to help because I heard the distress call from Threshinale. I heard the fear in Commander Velnar's voice when he sent his message. I heard people on Threshinale crying for help because they needed it. Her voice became really strong when she said this. Humanity has been hurting each other for a long time. Maybe now is the time for humanity to use its ability to fight to keep people safe of hurting them. We do not leave people to die when they need our help. This is not what humanity is anymore. Humanity has to be better than that. The room was really quiet for a long time. Then someone from the Sorok group said something. War leader Karnux, who had been in a lot of fights, stood up with his big arms crossed. I do not think your words mean much, Admiral. Talking is easy. It is what you do that really matters. What is it that you really want from the Sorok delegation? The Sorok delegation wants to know what you are looking for. Okonkwo smiled a little. That is a question. Here is what the people of humanity are proposing. First, humanity wants to be recognized as a civilization that can travel through space and become a member of the Unity Council. Humanity wants a things. Asterisk, humanity wants to be seen as a spacefaring civilization. Asterisk humanity wants to be a part of the Unity Council. Second, humanity wants to have honest talks with the diplomatic team and start trading with them. Humanity has some technology that it can share with others. Humanity is also very interested in learning more about the scientific knowledge of other civilizations. Third, humanity wants to work with the military to get rid of the Zarthak threat for good. The Zarthak threat is something that humanity wants to eliminate. Humanity wants to do this by working with civilizations and sharing military cooperation. What do we get? Carnuex asked loudly. He really wanted to know what was going on. Carnuex was not happy about being left in the dark. So he asked again, what do we get from all of this? Carnuex said. Protection is what Rodriguez said. He said it in a way. Every human fleet will be there to defend the worlds that are part of the coalition. The humans will share the technology they use to defend themselves. They will teach the coalition forces the tactics they use. They will find every single Zarthak nest and destroy them, so the Zarthak are not a threat to the coalition worlds or anyone else. The humans will keep going until the Zarthak are no longer a problem. The Zarthak have taken over 42 systems, Velenar said. These systems are now under the control of the Zarthak. The Zarthak have strongholds and breeding worlds. They have fleets of spaceships all over a quarter of the galaxy. The Zarthak are everywhere. I do not know how you can say you will get rid of the Zarthak with the weapons you have. The Zarthak are a problem. Dr. Osei turned on the display again. It showed a map of the stars with lots of places marked on it. The Zarthak have been watched by us for a year and a half. We found out where the main Zarthak groups are, where they get ready to attack and how they get the things they need. We looked at what the Zarthak remade of how they talk to each other and how they fight. We understand the Zarthak because we have been studying how to figure out dangers for a long time, a whole century of learning about the Zarthak. She pointed out a system that's really far inside the Zarthak territory. The Zarthak use this system as their place to have babies. What we know about the Zarthak says this system has the queen of the Zarthak, and she is what makes the Zarthak all work together. If we get rid of the queen of the Zarthak, the whole group of Zarthak will not be able to work anymore. The Zarthak will just be a bunch of ships that do not know what to do. You want to strike at the heart of the enemy, Kira then said, like she really got it. This is what they call a decapitation assault, where you go straight for the leaders, the people in charge, and take them down. Kira then was talking about a decapitation assault, the kind of attack that targets the heart of the enemy. Okonkwo said that is correct. We will send 30 fleets to do the job. We will attack all the Zarthak installations at the same time. The Zarthak will be hit hard and so fast that they will not be able to change what they are doing or fight back. This way we can stop the war with the Zarthak in a few weeks instead of it going on for many decades, with the Zarthak. Threshenael felt a little better about things. What happens if we say no to working? What if we are more scared of what you can do than we're of the Zarthak? Okonkwo's face looked really sad. Then we go back to Earth. We close our borders. Wait for the Zarthak to come to our territory. When the Zarthak come to our territory, we will defend the Earth. We will not attack the Zarthak or you. We came to the Zarthak to offer help, not to fight the Zarthak and take over. She looked around the room at all the delegates, looking each one of them in the eye. I know you are scared. The newcomers, that is us, are like a question mark. We have a lot of weapons. We know things that you do not know. Think about this. We could have just stayed out of sight. We could have watched as you fought and some of you died. Instead we are here. We are offering to help keep you safe even though we do not know you. Judge us based on what we're doing right now. We, the newcomers, are trying to help people we have never met before. We, the newcomers, are here to protect you. Velenar felt his patterns change to a silver color. He looked at the members of the council. They were all struggling with the thing. The humans were saying they could save them. It was not a simple thing. The humans had a lot of power. It was scary. They were choosing to be friends instead of taking over. Velenar thought about this. The humans were powerful enough to be very frightening. They were being kind and wanting to help. This was a deal for Velenar and the other council members. They were not used to people being so strong and still being nice. The Supreme Coordinator's face lit up with a decision. I think we should take a vote. If you are in favor of accepting the Alliance proposal from humanity and giving them recognition as a galactic civilization, please let us know now. One by one the species representatives showed they agreed. The Luminar said yes. The Sorok made a noise that meant they accepted. The Merlash made bubbles to show they consented. Every species, the really careful ones, could see the sense in this. The humans had shown they could do things, and far they had been good. If the species said no to the humans, it would not make them go away. It would just be a waste of what the humans could offer. Velenar gave his okay. His patterns changed to a hopeful green color. The vote was unanimous, everyone agreed on this. Velenar and the others all said yes. The lights at Threshinale pulsed with a blue color. Then the decision was made. Humanity, welcome to the Unity Council. Now we will start making plans for how to save the galaxy with the Unity Council. We need to work to save our galaxy with the help of the Unity Council. Over the few days the Alliance started to come together really fast. The human technical teams worked with the Coalition engineers. Shared some of their defensive technology with them. They did not share the slipspace drive technology. The humans did give them some better shield generators, stronger armor and reactors that used less power. At the time some special officers started trying to help the different species understand each other. These species had grown up on planets and had different ideas about what is important, so this was not an easy job for the cultural exchange officers to do. The humans and the other species in the Alliance were all very different. The cultural exchange officers had to work hard to build a good relationship between the humans and the other species in the Alliance. Velenar was working closely with Captain Rodriguez to plan the attack on the Zarthak breeding world. Captain Rodriguez had a mind for tactics, thinking about all sorts of things that Velenar had not considered before. They were doing all this planning in Velenar's quarters on the Dawn. There were displays all around them showing where the fleet was and the best ways to attack. The Zarthak breeding world was their target and Velenar and Captain Rodriguez were trying to figure out the way to take it down. Velenar said this during a break. Your people are really different. You look at warfare in a simple way. You find the problem with warfare, then you come up with a solution for the warfare problem. Then you do the solution for the warfare very carefully and precisely. Rodriguez nodded. War is an issue that needs to be figured out. The main thing is to get it over with fast as we can and make sure our people do not get hurt too much. The Zarthak are causing trouble. We will take care of the Zarthak. Velenar asked slowly and carefully, do you ever worry that the violence inside of you might turn against yourself again? That the people of humanity might start fighting with each other more? Velenar wanted to know if the capacity for violence that humanity has might cause them to fight against themselves again just like they did before. Every day, Rodriguez said. That is why we try to do something with these feelings now. We help people. We keep the people safe. We give ourselves something to do, so we are not just trying to stay alive. Maybe that is what the Rodriguez people needed, along a reason to be better than what happened in the past with the Rodriguez people. 3 weeks after we first met the people from Zarthak, our big group of coalition ships got together at the edge of Zarthak space. We had 30 human battle fleets. They were helped by 2,000 coalition vessels. This was going to be the fight that the whole galaxy had ever seen. Velenar was in charge of a coalition task force. Admiral Okonkwo was running the whole thing from her main ship. The human and coalition fleet were getting ready to work to make this big operation happen. The human coalition fleet was very busy with all the preparations for the fight against Zarthak. The attack started at the moment, with strikes happening at the same time across 42 systems. The human ships broke through the Zarthak defenses in a devastating way, just like they did at Thyra. The coalition forces, who now had the technology to defend themselves and had received tactical training, did a lot better than they ever had before. They were using the defensive technology and the tactical training they got from humans. Within 6 hours, the human ships and the coalition forces had taken down 38 Zarthak installations. The human ships were very good at this. The attack on the breeding world was something that Velenar had to take care of. His fleet came out of slipspace, joined up with a human battle group. Then they fought their way through a lot of defenders. The vessel of the Hive Queen was really big. It was like a mountain floating in space, and it was way bigger than even the largest warships. Being big did not mean anything if you had weapons that were focused and people who were determined to get the job done. The breeding world was in trouble because of this attack, and Velenar was in charge of it. When the Queen died, Velenar felt it through the sensors on his ship. The Zarthak collective consciousness just stopped working. Went dark. This was a change. The Zarthak had 20,000 ships over the galaxy. These ships were working together like a team. When the collective consciousness went dark, the ships got confused. They were not a team anymore. They were individual ships that did not know what to do. The coalition and human forces took advantage of this situation. They started eliminating the Zarthak ships one by one over the few days. The coalition and human forces did this in a methodical way. They kept eliminating the Zarthak ships until they were all gone. The Zarthak ships were no longer a problem for the coalition and human forces. 2 weeks after the operation started, the Zarthak collective was no longer a deal. The people who were left ran away to the parts of space. They could not work together like they used to, so they were not scary anymore. The Zarthak collective was finished. Velenar stood in the observation deck of the Dawn. He looked at Earth through the window. The celestial dawn had brought him to Earth so he could see where humans came from. Earth was really pretty. It was like a ball of blue and green colors floating in space. Velenar thought it was strange that Earth, which looked so calm, was home to humans who were very good at fighting. The planet Earth was very beautiful. Velenar liked looking at the Earth. Admiral Okonkwo came over to him with 2 containers of coffee. She said it was coffee anyway. Admiral Okonkwo gave one of the containers of coffee to Velenar. Velenar took the coffee from Admiral Okonkwo carefully. The taste of the coffee was bitter. The coffee was also kind of nice to drink. Velenar thought the coffee was strange. You liked it? What do you think? Okonkwo said, and then she gestured to the world that she knew. She really wanted to know what people thought about her world. Okonkwo was very curious about this. Velenar said slowly, his emotions changing like the colors of the rainbow, that the galaxy is really lucky you chose to be friends of trying to take over. The galaxy is also very lucky that when the galaxy needed help, humanity was there to lend a hand. Velenar thinks that humanity being ready to help when the galaxy needed it is a good thing. Okonkwo smiled. We have been alone for a long time, fighting with ourselves and getting ready for dangers that might never happen. Maybe the whole time we were getting ready for this moment. The chance to be heroes of people who are just trying to survive. Below, the people who came before the Earth just kept on turning. This was a world where old fighters had decided to become guardians. The galaxy was never going to be the same. Velenar thought that this change was actually a thing. People from Earth showed up. They brought their powerful weapons and strong will to keep going. People from Earth also brought something very important. Hope. This hope was the idea that even if people had been very violent in the past, they could still have a life in the future if they chose to be better. The Earth and the people on it, including people from Earth, were really counting on this hope for a future. The Unity Council would never be the same. The galaxy would never be the same. And Velenar thought that was exactly how it should be.